Hey, and welcome to our second video or part two of creating a leaderboard using forms and sheets. So we've gone through how to create the form, the important bullet points, if you will, that we need to hit, especially those using that drop down feature, customizing your form. And then we've gone ahead and we have connected our future responses to a sheet, which is now looking like this. So this is our starting point. This keeps getting in my way. So while you were away, I went ahead and created you'll see two more tabs. You need a total of 3 tabs, and the way that you're going to insert those is from the very first page. You're just going to go ahead and click insert, go to the bottom, and go to new sheet, and that will create these other sheets. You can rename these, and we should and will, just clicking that little arrow. You can click rename, and then you can call it this one the tally sheet, and then this last one is ultimately going to be our leaderboard. You can color code those. You can color code those. You can do all kinds of fun things with those tabs. I'm sure if you are familiar with Google Sheets, you know all these special fun features. But today I'm just going to try and keep it super simple and just give you this basic foundation. You can play with all those other fun tools as you have the time, which is kind of laughable. I know we all don't have a lot of time, but today we just need a couple of functions just to make this work. It's actually fairly straightforward and fairly simple. On our second tally sheet, we're going to use columns 1 and 2. One we have for our team. So we have the red team, the blue team, and the yellow team. And you can make those boxes look so much better. I mean, we can make this red and we could change our font. And I mean, I could honestly spend all day, I don't know about you, just making those look pretty, but we're not going to focus on that today. We're just going to figure out how do we actually make these work. So here's where our calculations are actually going to go. We want to put we've got the names of our teams. And then if you look over on this example that I have from our WGC campaign, you can see that house points earned right under each title of the team. So instead of red, blue, and green, we have our houses, our virtues listed here. And then it just says house points earned. But that's not really the important part. The important part up here is actually the function that I have right here. So if you can see right here, we've got a function under house points earned underneath the titles in that second row all the way across. Now, I am going to put this into the shared folder that I have created for you, so you can do the same thing. You can open this, you can copy and paste. I'm actually going to copy and paste this, even though it will change a little bit here from this sheet to this sheet, but it's just right here. This is where that function is. This is where you can edit that function. It's where it says FX right here. That's where you're going to either create your function or copy and paste another function. And we're going to go to this sheet right here, and we're going to say, okay, we need to paste our function up here because we really want this function to work. Now, of course, this is not going to say determination, right? Because we need it to say red. And in fact, this right here is going to change to select T where R equals red, but we're going to worry about that in a second. The first thing we need to get right is actually the name of our sheet. So what we're going to do is we're going to put form responses 1, because that's the name of our sheet. Okay, that's this name right here, form responses 1. And if I click back to it, then I will see that. Now this is actually going to look a little bit easier once we have some data in here. So I'm going to actually go to my form, the form that this is connected to. Again, this is our form. This is what I'm talking about, the form that we created in the last video. I can actually go to that form right from my sheet, and I can go to the live form where actually I can enter that data, or where my students have entered that data. And I can go ahead, I can choose, the name, Anne Shirley. What is my team? Red. What is the title of my book? Let's say I read What Dreams May Come. Oh, my favorite character. Gosh, it's been a long time since I've read that. I think his name is Robert. And let's just say I put some awesome quotes and I used MLA format. What's the name of that? I can't remember the author's name. We'll say we already put it in there. And then let's say I earned 5 points for reading that book. And we went ahead and we submitted that. So the first thing that you want to check, which I actually haven't done yet, is to see if it shows up. And yay, it does. So you'll notice over here on our example, okay, where we have already kind of got this game up and running, we can look up in the function and talk a little bit more about what these things mean. So what's happening is I'm looking, which is the query, right? That's like a question. I'm looking for information from this data import sheet. And then I'm looking for anywhere from A1, so that's this guy, all the way somewhere way down here to W6504. It's just a random number that's really high that I picked. So I make sure I get all the data. And then I want to select T where R equals determination. So what are we talking about when we say T? Well, let's go ahead and find that column. Let's see. So we're looking for R, not T. So we're going to select R, right? And the reason that we're going to select R is because you look here at responsibility, and we go to responsibility up here. We go to house points. We are selecting T where R equals responsibility. So we want to make sure that we are selecting the name of our house, which is responsibility, and the number of points for our house. So as these points get built up in here, we got to calculate them before we can put them in our leaderboard. So what I want to do is I want to make a mirror image of, not even a mirror image, but just repeat all these columns a little bit further down once again. So you see I have them here, and then you see I also have them here. And I have them in the same order. And what I'm doing is I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to just click H, column H. This is my responsibility column, right here. And what I want to do is I want to actually keep an ongoing calculation of that number over here for responsibility. So how do I do that? All I'm going to do is I want to use a sum, because I'm just adding a sum function. So if you look over here in my responsibility column over here, my duplicate, and I click that, go up to this, the same thing that you looked at before to look for that function. And all I've done is I'm adding sum equals sum, this column, H2 through H1000. And then it's going to keep a steady, count of anything that goes in that column. And the same is true for perseverance, I2, I1000, respect, G3, G1000, and so on and so forth. So over here in our book challenge, we need to kind of do the same things on the tally sheet. Now that we've made one column, we need to make another column where we focus on yellow, and just ignore that error sign. We're going to get back to that, where we actually tally the points. So we'll go from 8A2 to A1000. So if we hit the equal sign here, we want to do sum, and we want to do A2 all the way to A1000. And then when it starts actually pulling that data and adding it, we won't get the error messages. We'll actually see that calculation. So same thing's true here. We can go ahead and do, these are easy functions, so we can go ahead and do those real quick. All right, and then we can do, of course, you're going to see 0 because that's how many's in the column, right? We don't have that error because we only have that error where we're still trying to correct our first query, but we will correct that. And then yellow. Here we go. Let's do our sum for column C, right? So equals sum. So super easy query, probably easiest one, C2 to C1000. All right, pretty easy. So we should get a 0 there. Yep, as long as we have that 0, we're good. As we input data, we'll start to see those numbers actually change. And then these are the numbers that we then will, of course, attach to our leaderboard. So let's go ahead and go back to this query because we need to fix a few things. We need to figure out what columns we actually want to get, right? So we want to select the points, 5 points, right? Where the column G is red, okay, because we're focusing on G. So we want to select F, where column G is red. And if we look at our example here, we see way back over here that that's how it works. So it's the name of the sheet you're bringing it in from. You're saying look for data all across the sheet. And we want to go ahead and select, and in our case, it's different column names. We want to actually select different columns where it equals red. So we have this kind of set up. We just need to change the columns, right? So we want to go ahead and look back at our form responses and see. We want to select F where G is red. Okay, we can do that. So we'll go ahead and we'll go to our tally sheet and we'll change this. So select F where G is red. And we'll see what we can do to connect these sheets. So we've got an error sign. So sometimes this does happen, and what I end up doing is I will end up just changing this name here to data import, and that usually really helps a lot. All right, go to our tally sheet. I find that those spaces often don't help us out. There we go, and it's pulling our 5 points earned. Now, what I am noticing already is like, oh, shoot, that can't say 5 points because it's got a sum, and it can only do the sum if we only have points in there. So I'm already catching a mistake, which I find is a helpful learning opportunity. So right from here, I can go to edit form. I can open my form again, and I can go ahead and fix that. So where it says points, I can go ahead and change this right here just by clicking it. Oops. And I can just go ahead and change that to 5. Now I can clear data, but I have to do it in a particular way here. I've actually got to clear all the data from the form as well. So I'll go ahead and I've changed that, and I'll go to my responses, and I have to go ahead and I have to actually clear the responses here. Delete all responses. And this is important before I can change anything on my form. So now that I've done that, see it's still there, I can go ahead and clear that. And I actually do have to delete the row in order to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and click delete row. So that should be good. We should be clear. Nope. Oh, hold on just a second. Oh, you know what? I might have to go ahead and go like this and refresh that because it probably hasn't spoken to that form yet, and that's okay. We'll let it reload here. So this is one of many little annoying challenges you're for sure going to face, and anybody that's worked with sheets enough knows even when you're doing something pretty simple, it can get complicated quickly. So I just recommend staying calm and not worrying about it, and because at the end of the day, once you get this set up, the hard part truly is over. And once you get it set up how you want it, it really does go on its own. So there we go. That was the problem. I had to go ahead and refresh. So we now see we have a function that works, right? And so now that I know that my function works, I can go ahead, and it's not going to delete that 5 points for me right now, but that's all right. I can go ahead and copy that function, and I can go ahead and put it here on points earned. And I can go ahead and erase that, and I can put my function. There we go. And now I've got my function working here too, except for, what do we want to do? We want to change this to blue. And we're also going to have to change the columns, right? So that should go back to 0, which it just did, but we're also going to have, it's not going to be F, right? Or it's not going to be G. It might be F, but it's not going to be G. So we go ahead, we go back, and we look at our data import, and we just ask ourselves, where is the blue? So it's going to be in the same column. It's going to be in the same column here, so we don't have to change those. Perfect. So now we just need more data, right? So let's go ahead and submit another response. And we'll put Gilbert Blythe here. And we'll put blue. Now one of these kids is going to have to be on an extra team. And we'll say they can listen to an audiobook, and we'll put The Lion King. We'll put Simba, of course. And points earned is going to be 5. Okay, submit. And then that should be showing up here now. Oh, yep, there it is. And let's look at our tally sheet. Is it there? Yes, it is. Our points earned are 5. Perfect. Then we'll go ahead and we'll do Anne again. And because now her points are gone, red. And she read What Dreams May Come. And she liked the character Robert for various reasons. Perfect. So now she should have points there. And then let's go ahead and submit some points for the yellow column too. And, we'll just have old Gilbert be on a couple different teams, and that'll be all right. And let's say that he's reading, I don't know, what's a good book? I wish Katie was here with me because she would, tell me flat out. Oh, come on, Pony Boy, right? The Outsiders. That's a good one. All right. And then we would say Pony Boy, and we would explain why, of course, in an ideal world. And then we go ahead and submit that. Okay, great. So now we have some data for all 3 teams, or should. Let's go ahead and go back here and see. Yep, perfect. Now that 5 points isn't going to show up anymore, right? And that's okay. So now we need to make sure we've got this correct for the yellow. So we'll just copy and paste our query, our function, and simply put it in this column. And of course, we do have to change that because it looks right, but we know it's not, because that needs to be yellow. Perfect. And they all seem to be summing very, very well. Of course, that's going to change as more students enter their data. But now we have the baseline to actually create our leaderboard really simply. So in the final video, in part 3, you're going to see how we move over to this blank sheet and we actually create our cool stylized leaderboard. So in this video, we have learned how to use just 2 functions, the query function and the sum function, to go ahead and get the data that we need to create our leaderboard. And we've pulled all of that from our main sheet using this Google form, which of course we talked about in video or part 1. Okay, so if you need a review how to create that Google form, that's going to be in part 1. If you need to review how to put these different create these, new sheets and create and put these different functions in. Of course, that's in this video. And then in the final video, we're really going to focus on creating that leaderboard. Again, if you need anything, you can always email me because I'm sure these tutorials are not perfect. So if I missed anything, if you need anything, if it's just not working for you, please email me at megan.robbins@buildtown.org.